So, Tim, gosh, we've been through a lot today. Who would have thought one little Instagram reel of Peter Dutton talking about this fantasy, as you call it, could give us so much to talk about, but there's just so much there, isn't there? So just to recap on what we've talked about. So we've talked about that the massive cost overruns that we've seen in these projects around the world, that it devastates our export value if we're not decarbonising in line with the rest of the world, that it commits us to higher power prices for so much longer because we have 16 years of the expensive status quo, if you like. It just seems to me like this is a wrecking ball for the Australian economy. This, am I exaggerating? What's your feeling about this?
Yeah, it's a political stunt. Like, does Peter Dutton actually believe he will ever build a nuclear power plant? I reckon he doesn't even believe it. I think it's just about him getting to be Prime Minister of this country. And then he'll turn around and go, okay, we'll need to, first thing you have to do is hold a moratorium or have to repeal the legislation. He won't get it through the Senate because he won't have balance of power in the Senate and they won't support it. So he'll turn around and then blame them and just go, well, for 3 years, nothing will happen. Other than what will happen is investors will be scared away from investing in what they're really investing in today, which is wind, solar, rooftop solar, electric vehicles, electric vehicle charging, and battery energy storage system. And so we'll get less supply, which means prices will stay higher. And worse, our carbon emissions will stay really high. And remembering that the Minns government has to offer $450 million of subsidies just to keep one power plant open for 2 years, arrahing. So 450 million, and then multiply it by 10 power plants and then multiply that by 15 years. You're talking tens of billions of dollars of subsidies into the pockets of foreign coal billionaires.
I haven't even, in my list there, I haven't even thought of the cost of subsidising aging coal-fired power stations to stay open for 16 years. It absolutely is a wrecking ball for the economy. I just, it's such
intergenerational inequity. It's just criminal what he's proposing to do to our children. But I would say that I accept what 99% of the world's scientists, in other words, all of the scientists except for the 1% that are paid for by the fossil fuel industry, I accept what the scientists are telling us. We see the evidence every day. I talk to all of the major global insurance companies. They point out that this year is the 5th year in a row of record high extreme weather events, and the cost is 135 billion US dollars for the insured part. But what they don't tell you is that 2/3 of the damage isn't insured. So that's just borne by the average person in the street who can no longer even get their house insured. Flood insurance in big parts of America is no longer available.
So, and in Australia, bushfire insurance, flood insurance,
Yeah, tell that to the people of Lismore that he's just flushing them and all of our kids. I just see it as a con on the people of Australia. But then I say that I work on the climate science. I work on trying to mobilise the capital at the speed and scale to solve for it, because I see it as a massive economic opportunity as well as an imperative that we do it. And so that's how the Chinese think about it.
Yeah, and
they see this as the single biggest investment opportunity in their history.
Yeah, and hence, as you said, that the just unbelievable scale that they're developing renewables 250 times more than nuclear. And I guess, as I said, my lens is regional economic development as well. So that's, a concern for me is, do we squander this opportunity like that towns like Hay have seen to, have an economic diversification plan that, would not have come their way from anything else other than this renewable energy transition that we're all going through. But the other thing for me is, and you just highlighted it then, that, in Calare, we've had bushfires, we've had floods, we've had a year where after the Black Summer bushfires, every winery in the region was unable to have a vintage that year. You can imagine how many hundreds of millions of dollars was lost then. So we haven't even talked about it, but we don't need to. The climate impacts the cost of increasing climate impacts, if we just continue to do what we know is causing the problem, is a whole other area of expense.
Yeah, Kate, don't worry, because the billionaires sitting in Switzerland collectively booked 150 billion gross profit in one single year exporting fossil fuels from our country. 150 billion gross profit in 1 year. They don't care about your wineries. They don't care about our future generations. They're making so much money with every day of delay. I follow the money. It's the coal barons, and I'm talking of Glencore sitting in Switzerland, Yancoal sitting in China, the BHP is a major coal exporter, Whitehaven Coal. All of these companies are making out like absolute bandits, externalizing all of their costs, and meanwhile reaping literally $150 billion gross profit in 1 year using Australia's finite public resources and leaving our economy so much worse off for it. And most of them pay bugger all coal royalties or any corporate tax either. So it's just rub insult after injury.
Isn't it? And yet so many people think that is such a valuable part of our economy, that the royalties and the taxes they pay are so essential. But as you say, it's nothing like what they should be paying.
And they're the ones that caused the energy crisis that smashed 27 million Australians and every business in Australia by pushing up the energy prices double digits per year for the last 3 years. They make out like bandits and inflict an energy crisis on us. Like, we got more bloody coal, and we are the largest exporter of coal in the world, yet we pay more for our coal than the Japanese pay.
Wow.
Right? That's why Eraring needs to be subsidised $250 million, $225 million a year by Minister Minns, because they can't buy coal other than at export price parity. Now, whose coal is it? It's Australia's coal, but of course our governments have given it away for free, virtually for free, to these foreigners. I'm saying foreign billionaires. I'm not anti-foreign. I'm anti-billionaires who screw our economy in the process and deliver energy price hyperinflation, and then undermine our democracy and prevent us acting on the climate science. Like, you just go, how is Australia a winner in any way from that?
Yeah, and to bring it back to what we're talking about here, the nuclear proposal, so that leakage of profit that you just described continues for another 15 years under a nuclear scenario, because we have to make coal and gas keep going for that much longer.
Follow the money. It's all about allowing the incumbent industry to continue to make their ill-gotten gains.
Yeah. Tim, this has been such a valuable conversation. I feel like everyone would have learned so much by talking to you. Thank you for all the work that you've done for years and years. But thank you so much for giving us your time today. It's been wonderful.
Thanks, Kate. And I'll give you a plug. It's absolutely critical we have community independence in our parliament, both at the state and the federal level, so that we can actually hold both sides of parliament to account. Both parties, the Liberals and the Labor, take massive fossil fuel donations. We need community independence to hold them to account and bring on a minority government, in my view, because then people like yourself will have balance of power, and therefore we can actually protect and serve the people of Australia. So I think our democracy is fragile, and it's critical, the job you're doing. So thank you for your work.
Thank you so much, Tim. We'll talk soon. Thank you.